Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another live reaction and player ratings live stream following Chelsea 0, Brentford 0. Or Brentford 0, Chelsea 0 is the correct way around. Unfortunately, frustrating night. It's a weird game. It's a weird game because it was a good game overall. But I guess the fact that we allowed this to be a good game against a team that should be quite a bit worse than us means that we weren't great, right? Kepa, brilliant again, kept us in it when he had to early on in the game. And then we had chances, Broja. Why can't you just lay it off, bro? And then Kai doesn't realize that Broja could actually get a cross through and doesn't tap it in. And then Sterling, my guy's like a personified stopwatch, always stops doing things for way too long, flipping, pissing me off. But I don't even know. I don't even know what to feel because on the one hand, I'm obviously really annoyed because, points dropped and everything. And yet, on the other hand, I'm like, well, Brentford defended well. You can't win every game. It is what it is. I don't really know where exactly I want to sit in that scenario because obviously we rested a lot of players. We have a lot of players injured. We added another injury to that today. We'll get to that soon. So I'm not really sure how I feel. Pice, thank you for being here as always, mate. How do you feel? Are you super annoyed about it? Is it like, it was just one of those? I'm also still not sure what I think about this refereeing situation here. I do feel like that could have been a red card for the tackle on Broja. I can't lie. I'm not. I mean, maybe the one on Havertz is not a pen. Can we talk about a pen for the one on Pulisic? I'm not sure. Maybe all of it was fine. How do you feel, mate?
Just frustrated, to be honest with you. I feel like this was such a winnable game. As it turned out, I think in the first half, I don't think we played well enough. I thought we moved the ball way too slowly. I was disappointed to see no attacking changes at half time. I don't know how that fraud Kai Havertz stayed on the pitch that long, man. Honestly,
I don't get that either.
That honestly was one of the worst individual performances I've seen in. I can't even. Honestly, I was so frustrated with him. He looked like he was playing with cement in his boots, sandbags on his legs. I don't know, what was up with him. But just overall, we didn't play too well in the first half. And then sort of, I reckon from about 65 minutes onwards, we had all the ball. They sat back. There was like 9 or 10. Literally the whole of their team was back. And we kept trying. Aubameyang, with the flick and stuff. There was chances. We kept trying and trying, and in the end, it just wasn't to be. We had a lot of chances where we was down the side and we was cutting it back, and Ray was, using his feet, put it out for a corner, and it was just just one of these little situations, where on another day you probably get down the line, play it across, and it goes, and you tap it in, and you win the game. So incredibly frustrating. That's why I say it's 2 points dropped. I mean, having said that, I don't think obviously a point away at Brentford is a terribly bad result, but for the standards I hold Chelsea to, it does feel like 2 points dropped tonight. I thought we did relatively well defensively, but at times I still feel like Kepa had to bail us out. And again, if Brentford fans could say the same, to be honest, if Mbeumo heads it to one of the sides, I mean, they might even win the game, So it's just incredibly frustrating because, I mean, we'll get on to the team and stuff soon, but I just feel a bit of just a sense of lost opportunity. You know what I mean? We could have 100,000% won that game. It would have only taken one goal, and I think that's what's incredibly frustrating for me, coming out with 1 point.
Yeah, no, I do agree. At the same time, a lot of the things you explained, I fully agree with. We had chances, but not chances where we missed the sitter, other than where Broja didn't square it and the Sterling one. Other than those two, I'm like, okay, the finish itself wasn't today for once the real problem. Maybe a couple of occasions where you can certainly talk about it, but not the big deal. Like you said, it was just one where it just didn't quite happen. That's why, on the one hand, I'm really frustrated. On the other hand, it's different to some other occasions where we've dropped points where I'm just really annoyed by certain players. The only really player I'm annoyed at today is Havertz. Everyone else was reasonable enough that I'm not fuming at them. Well, I am a little bit fuming at Raheem Sterling, but obviously he was a sub and had one chance, so it's a bit different. So it just wasn't really happening. And the next thing I don't understand is why Christian Pulisic can't start games. People obviously have a go at me. You can't just assume he does something bad in training. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Maybe I can't assume that. But that's him just being awful in training. It's the only logical explanation I can possibly think of for that guy not starting more games recently. He comes on against Palace, gets the assist. He starts against Wolves, one of our best outfield players, or one of our best players, scores, has another nearly wonder goal, stopped by a wonder save from the goalkeeper, and then hasn't seen the light of day since until today. Comes on and is by miles the best outfield player that played today. Like, by miles. Like, how can you not start more often? I don't understand. Aaron, let me get to you. Number one, your thoughts now in hindsight of the game. Like, is it frustration? Is it, okay, at least we didn't lose type thing? Or are you angry at individuals? How do you feel? And then let's take it to this Pulisic conversation, because honestly, it just baffles me how he can't, like, well, how can he not be picked to start and then play like this? Like, on the basis of how he plays, surely he has to start. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. I get what you mean. Firstly, just thanks for having me on again. But yeah, it was a very interesting game. I think it was a lot more back and forth than I would have expected. But on the surface of things, when I look back on it, I think there was times where we could have gone and got a few goals and we had good chances. But I also think there was times where Brentford did have us right like back against the wall sort of thing, and they were in dangerous spots and they did get in quite a few times. So on the face of it, I think a point is fairly decent. Obviously, we would have liked to have had three, and I feel like we could have got three, but for however many chances they had, which was a bit of a concern for me, I think a point is okay. It's not the end of the world. But just to lead on to the Pulisic conversation, when he came on the pitch, he was trying to make stuff happen, and he was actually running. He was trying to take people on. He was looking for options. He played really well when he came on. Which this is the thing I don't understand as to why he can't start a game, because Havertz started out wide. We were all saying, most of Twitter was saying, "Oh, why is Havertz playing there and not Pulisic?" And we saw it in the game. Havertz was shit, and then as soon as Pulisic came on, he was really good. So it just begs the question as to why Potter is still choosing to play Havertz in those positions when he's being shit compared to Pulisic. Like, what is the real reasoning behind it? It's got to be something behind the scenes that we don't know about, because it just doesn't seem to add up.
Yeah, it is strange. I mean, obviously, depending on what formation and system we're playing, you can't always play Pulisic just directly instead of Havertz. But it is just strange. I'm like, well, you can't exactly say that the tactical plan was so crucial against Brentford today that just didn't suit Pulisic. Now, we didn't play a position that suited Pulisic that we started with, mind you. We'll get to that in a second. But you can't exactly pretend like it worked. So, you can't use that as a valid reason why you shouldn't start. If anything, we should have used a different system, which maybe would have allowed Pulisic to start and, be influential from the get-go. Wing with the super chat, appreciate it. He says, clearly joking, respect King Kai, gives us world-class cardio, and then obviously Pulisic and the throwing up emoji. Today, Havertz had an absolute stink and Pulisic was great. Unfortunately, not quite enough to win us the game, but that was certainly not due to his fault in Pulisic's case this time around. Shall I get this lineup up? Oh, not this one. Shall I get this lineup up on screen? Now, I did tweet, Pice, you must have missed it or just chose to ignore me. But I tweeted early in the game, it's like 3-5-2. Did we all agree on that? This was before Gallagher came off. It changed once Gallagher came off. But initially, even though it was only for 50 minutes, do we agree that we played this formation? Or do we not agree with this? Pice,
no, I agree.
Pice, can you hear me?
What's up?
Do you agree that we played this formation until Gallagher came off?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. I think Broja was more... Although I thought Broja was on the other side compared to Havertz, but yeah.
Yeah, see, that is a fair point. It is true. I wasn't really sure where Broja was at the start, but then obviously when he had all of his influential moments, then he was always off to the right.
I was a bit annoyed because Mount kept picking the ball up almost like a left midfielder, and that really annoyed me. I wanted him back in midfield more, and I don't know why he was so wide.
A bit around like this,
yeah, I don't know why that happened, man. That was one thing I was like, yeah, we need him closer to the goal. Like, kind of same thing when Sterling came on. He was so wide.
Whether we were ttrying to play a 3-5-2 or a 4-2-2. It seemed like we didn't really know.
What on earth happened when Sterling and that came on? Because Sterling was almost like a fucking left wing back for me. He was nowhere near the bloody
Sterling
goal.
played wing back like he did against.
Why? I don't get it, man.
What's it called? Salzburg.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Someone said Havertz was the tip of a diamond.
Mate, he was nothing. He was shite.
Once we made the subs, maybe you can debate that, but certainly, I mean, I guess you can't. Yeah, but then you can't play a diamond. You can't play a diamond on wing backs. Like, what is that? Jeremy, what is that? And that's not information that exists. So, But anyways, now Pice has just informed us that Potter said that Conor Gallagher was going to be sick, which is why he came off. So he isn't actually injured, which is good news, I suppose. I don't know why he was going to be sick. I don't know. Was it anxiety? Did he get a ball into the stomach? Was it just having a stomach bug? Could be anything. Pice, you want to say something there? Go on.
Yeah, Graham Potter said he felt ill in the first 15 minutes, and he hopes it's like a 24-hour bug thing, hopefully. Don't know whether it's flu or what. I mean, if he was feeling sick, why would you start him in the first place?
Yeah.
I don't get that. But...
Or did he feel sick and he didn't tell you before? Which then...
Yeah, I don't know.
What were you doing, Gallagher? Like, if you're not feeling good. Well, and maybe he was also thinking maybe he's just... caught the Andreas Christensen syndrome and thought that's why he felt a bit sick and thought he would go away once he plays. So who knows? Who knows? We have another super chat here by USA CFC. Appreciate the donation. He says, very frustrated Potter doesn't play much, but have to give him credit that he's actually using Pulisic properly. Something we never saw on the TT. See, this is where I think that whole position thing under Tuchel is going completely in the bin. What Pulisic did today, what Potter is doing. That shows it's nothing to do with positions for certain players. Now, Havertz, if he plays like today, it doesn't matter what position he plays, he's always going to be awful. Now, he's going to have positions where he's better or worse, but Pulisic played today not in two different positions that Tuchel used him in at times, but he was actually good. Now, I'm not saying that's because Tuchel is gone, but you can't always just blame me on the position when Pulisic wasn't good, in my opinion, because today he didn't play one of his best positions, in my opinion. He played all over the shop, kind of almost as a right 8 at times, and then as a 10, of course, and then, do you know what I mean? Like in deep positions, in high positions, all sorts of different positions, and was good, right? So you clearly can't say that it always was down to the position when he struggled, do you know what I mean? But today he was very good, and fair play to him. But yeah, Gallagher had to come off after 15 minutes, so let me shift it around to what I thought at least we played for the most part. Obviously, then it was Broja up top, Havertz shifted to a right 10, Mount to a left 10, and then we had basically a double pivot of Jorginho and Kovacic. It was the other way around, as usual. But yeah, and then we basically shifted to a 3-4-3, which I found interesting that we didn't start with the 3-4-3, and we had to make this sub and bring Kovacic on for Gallagher, and we shifted to it immediately. Now, the first 15 minutes really weren't good. So do we think this was just because it was Kovacic instead of Gallagher? It suited it better to play with a double pivot? Or do you think it was a tactical change that Potter felt that the three-man midfield didn't really work before? What do you reckon, Aaron?
I think it might be more to do with the fact that Gallagher in a double pivot, we know it doesn't work. So I feel like bringing Kovacic in, he's tried and trusted there and he can actually play the position properly. So I think that might be more to do with it, but that's just sort of the way that I'm trying to think about it in terms of what's more logical after 15 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it could well be the case. Obviously, I agree with you. Gallagher in the pivot wouldn't have been ideal, but then I guess you could still leave it as you could also play Kova as an 8, right? So if you bring Gallagher off, you could still stick to the plan that you had from the get-go with Jorginho as a 6 and then Mount and just Kovacic instead of Gallagher as 8, right? But who knows what the real idea was. I don't really know where I want to start with this because let me get a bit more of a broader perspective on the game, or let me talk about a broader perspective of the game because Python, I'll take it to you. We obviously didn't start very well, did we? But then 20, 25 minutes into the game, we kind of got our foot in the game. And then I actually thought we played pretty well. Obviously, unfortunately, didn't score, but we then played pretty well. And then the start of the second half was then really bad again. Brentford all over us. And then as that half went on, like you alluded to earlier already, Brentford started sitting deeper and deeper and deeper, and we just struggled to break them down. But do you think when they had their strong spells, do you put that down to them doing things well, or like you said earlier, in terms of passing too slowly? Like, what did you make of how we played? Like in the end, we had 67% possession. We had how many shots on target? We had 5 shots on target. Brentford had 5 shots on target. Do you know what I mean? They had higher XG than we did, understandably so. Big up Kepa. But what did you, before we get into individuals? I don't really know how I'd want to judge this overall performance because there was parts that were good and parts that were really bad.
I just felt like there was 2 or 3 players that understood there was a game to win here, and the rest of them were just passing the ball around. For me, it was the combinations came from Aubameyang, Pulisic, and Kovacic playing those balls straight, popping them straight into the centre. That was the only 3 players for me, and occasionally Ruben when he beat someone. Those were the only players for me that actually looked like they wanted to win tonight. I don't understand. Like the first half, like I can't believe how slow we played the ball. But that sort of 70 to 90 minutes, 65, whenever that sort of period started, when Brentford proper parked the bus and we had all the ball, like it was just like I was sitting there like, come on then, go, like come on, where is it? Where's the urgency? And I only got that from like 2 or 3 or 4 players at most. And that's why I was so pissed off of Havertz, because I was like, you've literally got mud in your boots. Like, what is going on? And that's why I loved Pulisic so much, because the first thing he did when he got on, he got the ball. The very first thing he took a shot. Okay, it got blocked. Positive. More positive thing than Havertz did in the whole fucking game. And then he started taking on players. He was getting in the box. You know, he tried to win a penalty. Yeah, okay, it wasn't a penalty, but he tried. He ran into the box. He took players on. He was positive.
He took shots from outside the box.
So, and I just felt like there was not enough players out there. There was not enough players out there tonight that knew that or could sense that, like, almost like, you know, that sort of smell of blood type feeling. Because I felt it was there. And some of these players, for me, just didn't feel that. They were just like, oh, you know, okay, sort of like, you know, we'll pop it around, sort of, yeah. Just and then there was like 3 or 4 of them that were like, you know, proper going for it. And when everyone's not on the same wavelength, you're going to struggle to win a game. So, yeah, for me, there was just too many sort of lackadaisical performances, just sort of very, like I don't know, lethargic, I guess I would say is the word on the ball. You know, for me, I just felt like, again, there was so much space as well, especially on like counter attacks from corners. Yeah, I don't know, man. It was just a weird game. I don't know how much I can put that down to, you know, the schedule, because a lot of these players, you know, I felt like he's rotated the squad quite well, but yeah, I mean,
Mount is the only one that has a reasonable excuse for being a bit tired. Well, like Kovacic does, to be fair, after he had to come on after 15 minutes, but he didn't look tired at all.
He created almost chances. How's that happen?
Played really well.
Like,
I mean, he did also overhit a few passes really hard, but you know, he still tried them. And you know, I'd rather
no one else was trying
too many times and get it wrong than not try it.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I do want to touch on before I take it to Aaron, and you can say whether you agree with this. What I saw today that was very different to what we usually did under Thomas Tuchel is when we didn't have the ball, it almost looked exactly like it is on screen now. Rather than that, we pushed together to form like a more like the whole team was like a bit closer, which we usually do. And like there was this time Brentford had the ball basically in this area, and then our defenders were back here, the midfielders were about here, and then obviously if you give them so much space, then one pass they were through the midfield, which in this case isn't actually criticizing the midfield for that happening. That's more from where the position of everyone else was. And then the defenders had basically to deal with one-on-one situations, 1v2 situations, 2v2 situations. Then I'm like, that shouldn't be happening. That's a tactical thing. Like I'm not like, because the players always did it under Tuchel. That's why I don't assume this is the players not doing it. So there must be some tactical idea to this, why we are doing this, or why we did that today, that I don't understand. But Graham Potter, either you make it work or you stop it, because I don't like it. These spaces that we had between players at times defensively today, I was not a fan of whatsoever. But Aaron, what's your more overall perspective on the game? Like basically Pice was just talking about now.
I think we had a lot of good spells, and there was a lot of times where we were getting into dangerous positions, creating chances. Players were actually trying to push forward and sort of make the space to get into. So I feel like we did have our fair share of good spells on the ball. But then in the same sense, I do also think that there was a lot of times where Brentford did look quite dangerous, like they could get in behind, or there was opportunities where they would go like 1 or 2 on 2 sort of thing. And it's just like, they did make me. It felt like we were quite vulnerable at a lot of times, so it was a bit frightening to see that, because I think we would normally expect to be a lot more defensively solid. But yeah, it was a very back and forth, end to end sort of game. I do feel like we should have probably come out with something. I think we had plenty.
What I just explained, but what I just pushed around with the gaps, I think that's the reason why the game was so open and so end to end. Because usually we don't allow that to happen. That's why I think.
Yeah, it was quite strange to see, because normally we're not as open, and vulnerable to chances like that. So it was a lot of that today, which I was quite concerned by. But I do think we had more than enough opportunities where we got into positions and got on the ball where we could have scored. But if it was one pass too many, or if they're getting a block in right at the last moment just before we're about to shoot or play a pass, or it was just like, for example, with the Broja chance where his vision, he just didn't look up and see Mount coming right behind him where he could have just
See,
slotted it
I think
across.
he knew exactly the Mount was there because you even heard him screaming on TV. I just think he so badly wanted to score himself that he took too long, and by the time he realized, fuck, my chance is gone, he couldn't square it anymore. I think it was just one of those,
if that's
first
the case,
Chelsea start, young player type of situations.
If that's the case, then he's a fucking idiot because
he is. No, he is, but it happens to all of them. Like Mount had those days. Tammy had those. They all had those days.
Like, don't get me wrong. I still think he had a good game, and the sort of impact that he made for his first start, I still think he done very well. But that moment there, I was screaming at my TV. I just thought,
although at the same time, the cross he still gets in is actually really good. Kai Havertz just didn't expect it. Kai should have had an easy tap in if he just pays attention.
I think even the opportunity where we sort of thought he'd done too much, and then he kept going for the ball and won it back from the defender in the far corner. I saw things like that. That's like a breath of fresh air. We don't tend to see that a lot with our attackers, like the way that he was pressing, and because he's quite a big guy and he's powerful, but he's still got pace. He was able to go around Ben Mee.
I know Ben Mee is very slow, so that made Broja look extra quick. But bloody hell, is that kid fast, man? Wow. Like, that's making Sterling look like a fucking grandpa, honestly. It's crazy. But, Lurifix a super chat. God knows how much money that is, but I appreciate the donation regardless. Saying Chukwuemeka should get more minutes as well. Well, initially I was going to say he probably will now that Gallagher's injured, but turns out actually Gallagher isn't injured, so he was just sick. So who knows? But I don't disagree. Now, I do at times think that in the attacking phase, he was good, but I do think defensively he didn't do anywhere near enough. I felt that our midfield was like he didn't really, and not because he's bad, but because obviously he hasn't actually had enough game time to really see how this system, how we like to play defensively type thing. I felt like he needs a little bit to go in that sense. But hey, by the way, happy early birthday to Chukwuemeka because it's his birthday tomorrow. And we're not streaming tomorrow. So we're saying that today. All right, let's get into these player ratings. I guess we've got to start off with Kepa. And there's a good chance he gets the highest rating. It wasn't quite as incredible as on Sunday, but it was very good, especially that one save from, I think it was Ivan Toney in the first half. That was unbelievable that he still got his hands up and tipped that over the bar. That was outrageous save. Also the one where Toney rounded it or tried to round him and he stayed on his feet and got the block in. Very, very good. Obviously, what is he called? Mbuema or whatever, however you pronounce his name. There you go. He obviously had that header. Kepa saved it, but, basically headed it straight at him. So we can't give him too much credit for that. But Aaron, I'll start with you. Now, we gave him a 10 on the weekend because it was 100% justified against Villa. Probably not quite a 10 today, especially because, we have the baseline to judge it by off Sunday. But it was still very good. But how high would you go for him?
I think it's difficult because I do think he had a very, very good game again. Like it's crazy to think this is the same Kepa who we all would have thought, this summer he'd be gone. So it's crazy to see that he's come in and he's doing what he's doing.
Apparently, it just didn't happen.
It's just mad to think he's still here and he's performing like this. So it's really good to see. But I think Kepa done really well. Like coming and closing down. I think the old Kepa with a lot of those opportunities where they've gone to round the keeper. I think the old Kepa would have just bundled them over and conceded a penalty. To be honest, so. I think he's done very well. I think you can see in his game he's maturing a lot as well. So I was really happy with him today. I think I'd give him. It's difficult because I don't really know like kind of what ballpark range. I'm thinking like a 8 or 8.5. But because we saw his performance of the weekend and like that was like incredible, it kind of downplays this one a little bit. But I'd probably go for like an 8.5.
You know what? I'll probably agree with you. I was even thinking a 9, but I don't think his distribution was that great today. I think there was a lot of long balls which didn't go anywhere near another Chelsea player today. Even though that's being harsh, but I think an 8.5 is about fair. We could most certainly give him a 9 as well, I think. But I think an 8.5 is not too far off the mark price. Would you agree? 8.5? Would you go a bit higher? Would you go a bit lower? What do you think?
8.5 is an awkward range, so I'd rather just go for an 8, I think. I think he was solid. Made some really good saves. I also think one thing I'm noticing with Kepa is like the timing of his, like the way he comes out and sweeps is really good. Like the anticipation of certain things. They had one, I think, had an opportunity really early on in the game. I think it was like first 2 minutes, and I think it might have been Toney, and he just the way he closed him down was really, really good. And I thought you can just tell, man, he's in such high confidence right now, and you feel like nothing's going to go wrong with him, which is the complete opposite of everything I've felt about Kepa over the last 2 years. So, fair play to him. Hopefully, he keeps it up, and I'll give him a solid 8. Made some good saves again tonight as well, I think.
Fair dues, fair dues. All right, I will probably go 8.5, so we'll leave him at 8.5. But fair dues. Let's move on to the centre backs. Let's start in the middle. Trevor Chalobah. Now, I don't remember him ever before playing as a central centre back for us. I'm not sure if that's just my lack of memory or if that's actually the case. And that what I'm going to say now goes for all three centre backs today. Actually, they had moments that were really good, all of them, and they had a couple of moments, each of them, where I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like obviously Koulibaly with that one situation on the side where I'm like, what? Chalobah and a couple of which I can't remember. There was one big chance, but he was dragged out of position and just took way too long to anticipate that he needs to get back into position. And Aspie, well, he had some moments where I'm like, incredible stuff like that block, even though it should have been a corner. They didn't give it. There was one other that he got in between the defender and the ball, or the attacker and the ball. Sorry, but there was another couple of situations where I'm like, what are you doing, man? But for Chalobah, I'm not really sure. Pice, do you want to take this one first? Because, like I say, he kind of had some good moments. I'm like very happy. Thought, especially considering this is the first time I remember him playing here, at least. Pretty impressed. But then there was also a couple of moments I'm like, oh, that wouldn't have happened if Thiago played.
Yeah, I think that's expected though, to be honest. Thiago Silva's just a different level of player, but no, I think Chalobah did pretty well, to be honest. I was quite impressed with him. Thought he was really good on the ball. Thought he was pretty solid. Still got that unbeaten streak, although it's obviously including draws. I wish it was a win streak, but it seems like we don't lose with him in the side. And to be honest, I feel like he did play there once or twice for us, but I was really shocked to see. Yeah, I was really shocked to see that he played there instead of Koulibaly. I thought maybe Aspie would be on the left, Chalobah on the right, Koulibaly in the middle. But I'd probably give him a 7. I would say. Yeah, I'd give him a 7.
Two people in the chat here said 8. I even think a 7 is a tad high, just because the opposition had so many chances. I probably wouldn't have given any of our defenders a 7. If I'm honest, I maybe wouldn't have given any of our outfield players a 7, quite frankly. Maybe Broja, but maybe I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I viewed the overall performance maybe less harsh than others, but then when we get to individuals, I'm more harsh than others. I guess it swings and roundabouts. But fair enough, you go for a 7. Let's put that down for the meantime, and we'll see what else we get to. Aaron, a 7 from Pice. What about whereabouts would you go for Chalobah?
It's difficult because I think all three defenders, as you said, they had good moments, but they also had moments where I was just sat there and I just thought, what the fuck are you doing? Like, seriously. So it is difficult, but I'll probably go along with the 7 because he did have good moments, and I think it was quite difficult dealing with Toney and Mbeumo. They are a handful, and a lot of Premier League defenses have seen that before. So it's very challenging to try and keep them too quiet, but I think he done quite well. Yeah, okay. I'm still not really sure what I would have gone with. I don't know, maybe 6, 6.5. I'll go 6.5. Then that leaves it at a 7 regardless. All right then, boys. Let's do Koulibaly first. I'll go with you first, Aaron. Do you think he was any better or any worse than Chalobah? Would you think the same? What do you think? No, I think Koulibaly was slightly worse. There was times where I just looked at him and I was like, honestly, like, what goes through your head when you're letting the ball bounce? Was there more than that
one occasion where you thought that?
Yeah,
obviously everyone else thought it in that one occasion, but
so I think there was so there was the one where he got nutmegged down the line and the guy got past him. There was the one with that awkward where the ball's coming down and he just doesn't go towards it.
Where he let it bounce. Yeah, true.
Yeah. So there was that one as well. But I do think he had good moments, like when when he like stuck his leg out and managed
Yeah.
to just get the ball away when they were coming towards the box. So I think he had good moments, but I think his bad moments outweigh a little bit more compared to Chalobah and Aspie. So I think I'd probably go 6, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Pice, let me get to you. Do you agree with Aaron on this? Would you give him a 6? Would you give him higher? What do you think?
I think he was slightly above average defensively. I'd go 6.5. I do think he had a little bit worse moments than Chalobah, but I think just generally and right in the sort of if you play second centre back, like I just think generally as well, like you don't really get tested as much than you do around the sides and a three at the back. So I think he definitely does need to fix up the sort of like. Like the one where he got like spun and that moment everyone's thinking about where he kind of like he obviously got spun and tried to kick it with his right foot and just lost it. Obviously recovered and cleared it out, but that's lucky, man. Like if you do that against the big teams, you're probably going to get punished. Like, I just feel like he loses his head a little bit. Like I don't know, it's kind of like rash, but almost like just silly at times. Like I don't know. But at times I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
that's
In that moment, I almost thought the opposite. What I thought he seemed like he thought he had it covered, but he really didn't. And then he tried.
that's why I say it's silly because it's
and
like
then missed it and then was just gone.
Yeah, like
Right?
I don't exactly feel like exactly 100% safe for him right now, but at the same time, like there's moments where I feel like, oh, that's just brilliant from you. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like that slide tackle he made where he was coming across, and it ended up being a literal pass to I think one of our players. Hey, that was just ridiculous. That's brilliant defending. But there's other times where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, oh my god. So yeah, I'd probably go 6.5. And I mean, it's going to start on Saturday. It's a big game for him. He played well against Tottenham at Stamford Bridge, so let's hope he can continue that up because Anthony's a tricky winger down that side. So yeah, let's hope he's on top form.
Absolutely. So you said 6.5 then, just because you said just above average, yeah?
Yeah, I think he was just above average. So yeah.
I would probably agree on a 6.5 because while I do agree with what Aaron said, even though the bounce, I'm not as sure. I think with the bounce, what he was trying to do is let Toney control it and then push him as he controls it and win the ball that way. But then in the end, was it Chalobah that ran in, won the ball anyway, or Jorginho, one of them? But I do agree it did look weird. But that one occasion, I mean, I even tweeted that was embarrassing and that better never, ever happen again. You can't get mugged up like that. He thought he had it covered. In the end, gets nutmeg, tries to clear it, misses the ball, and is 5 yards away from the player in the space of a second. And we're just like all scrambling to get back. And it was actually Chalobah that intercepted the cross then, to be fair, before Koulibaly himself cleared it again. But like Pai said, I thought like maybe he had one or two more bad moments than Chalobah, or the one or two bad moments he had were just worse than Chalobah's bad moments. But I thought in terms of outside of those bad moments, I thought it was better than Chalobah. Now, I would probably overall then give them both a 6.5. But hey, you guys gave Chalobah 7. So here we are. Aspie then. Aaron, you also thought Aspie was better than Koulibaly. Yeah, it's weird for me because when you sometimes have this and you watch a game and then you're like, I don't know, half an hour in, 40 minutes in, even 50, 60 minutes in, and you're like, now he's not had a good game. And then for the rest of the game, he has a really good game. And then your mind was already kind of decided on, now he didn't have a good game. And then all of a sudden, he keeps doing things really, really well. And then you're kind of stuck in this, well, how well did he play now? Because I already decided he was bad, but now he did all these good things. So now, I don't really know. There was like one Aspie shot that he had, which forced a good save from the keeper, fair enough. But when he went for that second shot, which I'm blocking, just the fact that he did that, I want to just strangle him. I'm like, come on, that was the first attack we had in minutes after constant Brentford pressure. And we finally pinned them in. And our centre-back decides to shoot. I'm like, bro, really? No. You can't even shoot, man. Like, if it's Rudiger, fair enough. But no, stop it. Like, why is that? Pissed me off. But you said you thought he was better than Koulibaly. So can I expect you to give him a 7 like Chalobah, Aaron?
I mean, I don't know, like, it's just, I felt like when I was watching the game, I just didn't think he done as much stupidness as Koulibaly. Like, I don't think there was points within the game where I watched it and I thought, oh, like, Aspie, what the hell are you doing, sort of thing. Like, I didn't really feel like that for a lot of the game.
Gave him with that free header, though. That was dreadful.
I mean, yeah, there was that one as well. There was that one. I do remember that. But I think just in terms of overall, I don't think I noticed him doing as many stupid things or making as many mistakes in defence as Koulibaly. That's why I sort of felt like he was slightly better. I could be wrong. Maybe I saw the game a little bit differently to everyone else, but that's just kind of how I felt about it. So I'd probably go slightly higher than Koulibaly and put him on the same as Chalobah, so 7. Or
There it
if
is.
it's slightly higher than Koulibaly, probably a 6.5. Then if I give Koulibaly a 6,
True, you did give Koulibaly a 6, to be fair. Okay,
yeah, so
six
I'll
and a
probably go
half for the time
6.5.
being. All right. Price, what did you make of Aspie?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I was feeling like going to go over 6.5. But I actually want to lower my rating for Chalobah now. I would probably give Chalobah a 6.5 instead of giving him a 7.
Okay.
And I would also give Aspie a 6.5 as well. Again, I think that sort of cross when Buemo kind of let him go went over Aspie's head. Yeah, not the greatest, but other than that, I thought he was actually pretty solid. To be fair, there was not too many times where he got beat down the outside or inside or anything.
There was a couple of times I thought, I don't know, especially
Do you?
early
I
in the
mean,
game.
yeah, I mean, maybe you can rejig my memory, but I just felt like he didn't. Like, I remember that one tackle which should have been a corner, which I think was really good defending.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Where I was like, I just think his first half was poor, if that makes sense. And then in the second half, he just kept doing great things. Like you touched on that block. On the one occasion, he kind of shoved his body in, like they played a through ball, and he managed to get his body in between the attack and the ball, and they got for a goal kick. So he had some really good moments, and I just didn't like his first half. I don't know. It seemed like in certain build-up moments, he pushed so far out wide to the right that it's almost like he was playing right back. And then he just got passed with one through ball, and he obviously doesn't have the pace to catch up with whoever their winger was. And he was just nowhere. And Chalobah always cleaned it up for him. But I'm like, Aspie, it shouldn't be that easy. That's what I felt anyway. I probably would have given Aspie a 6, maybe even a 5.5, I'm honest, because that Mbuemo header just can't happen, man. Like, you can't give... Like, that was in the 6-yard box, and Aspie gave him 2 yards space. 2 yards! Bro, you can't do that. Nah, that's unacceptable.
I think
But
I was just going to add one thing that did annoy me, and I guess one time he did it kind of could have been something, but I didn't like how he kept shooting instead of crossing the ball. There was
Or
times
just
when Broja
play
was
it
in the
to
box
Ruben
and
and let him cross from a much better
yeah,
position.
he shot like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, Aspie, like, yeah, I don't know, like you're not going to score. Like I
Yeah,
respect
you're
it,
not
but like.
our new Rudiger, man. Like, stop
Like,
it.
do you remember like all the times where, like, I swear, like Morata's first 10 goals came from Aspie's crosses. Like, I know he
Yeah,
can do good crosses, and he
yeah.
was in that sort of wide centre back position. But it was a good angle for them. And Broja was putting his hand up a couple of times, and he just either played it to Ruben or he'd shoot. And I was just like, why are you doing that? So that did annoy me a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm more probably giving them positive ratings in defence tonight because I'm surprised we didn't concede, to be quite honest with you. And I know a lot of that was down to Kepa, but yeah, I honestly thought we was going to
Like
get.
Brentford missing.
Yeah, I honestly thought we was going to get like cooked way harder tonight, and I guess that's why I'm disappointed. Is because I felt like this turned out to be a game that I didn't expect us to win, just because of various circumstances, maybe my own pessimism, to the
Okay.
fact that I felt like it turned into a game where we should have 100% won, and that's probably why I'm a bit disappointed.
I hear that. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting way to think. Yeah, I get it though. I get it though. You said 6.5 for Aspie as well, or did you say 6? Sorry, bro. Remind me.
I was going to say 6.5, but I don't know. I feel like everyone has different opinions tonight on the ratings, so I'm open
Hey,
to hearing stuff.
if you say 6.5, that's fair. Aaron went 6.5. We leave it at 6.5, and in the end, we sit here with all three at 6.5. Fair enough. Let's go then to Cucurella. Unfortunately, my guy didn't really get any better when he played left wing back compared to left centre back. Now, obviously, it was less dangerous when he was playing badly than it was on the weekend because he wasn't in as of a crucial position. But my guy really has no idea what he's doing in the final third. When on that one occasion, I can't remember whose cross it was. Was it Ruben's? Was it somebody else's? When the cross came in, no one got it in the middle, and he picked it up at the far post, and he just stood there at the edge of the box, in the box, and just waited. I'm like, bro, what? What are you doing? That you need to be better than that. But I'm really struggling to decide what rating to give him, Pice. Let me go with you on this one. Number one, did you even think that he was poor, or what did you make of Cucurella's performance, and what would you rate him?
Didn't think he was poor. I'd probably say average, probably 6.
Yeah.
The one time that did annoy me though was I feel like I don't know why this keeps happening, but every time I feel like I want Chilwell like in a position, Cucurella does something like, you know what I mean? Like there was the time where he got the ball and I felt like he should have drilled it. He had quite a lot of space for a shot and he just kind of stood there and just didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and I feel like, I was saying to myself, okay, well, I wanted Chilwell there. But then there's times where Chilwell starts, like, okay, well, I want Cucurella there because I feel like he's a bit more progressive passing
Yeah.
wise. So,
We need to just morph them into one rather than having
yeah,
both.
that's really annoying me at the moment. The fact that when one plays, I want the other. And, it's that's kind of pissing me off. But, yeah, I'd probably say 6. Don't remember too many times where he got done defensively. But again, going forward, again, I don't feel like.
Considering he was a wingback, he provided nothing offensively.
Yeah, true. I don't know. Maybe 5.5. I don't know. I'm in between that mold, I'd say. Not
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Let's hear what Aaron has to say, and then we'll try to figure out what we want to give it in the end. Aaron, what did you make of Cucurella?
I mean, it really couldn't have got worse than his last game, so I guess there's that. But I don't think he was particularly anything noteworthy at all. I think, as you said, when you're a wing back and you give no attacking output in the final third, then it's like, what are you doing playing wing back? Because you might as well just go back into being part of the back line because you're basically giving just as much attacking output there as you are where you're playing. So
And
it
he
was
said
a bit.
enough
It was
that he
one.
brought Sterling on that wing back instead of him.
That
Really?
was just when he brought Sterling on. That was painful, but we'll get to that afterwards. But Cucurella, I think he had that one good cross where he whipped it in, and I thought Havertz can just hit it first time, but he decided to try and take it down, and then it amounted to nothing. But other than that, I
I
can't,
can't
I can't
remember that.
remember him
But
doing.
maybe I've done Cucurella harshly then, saying he's done
It
nothing.
it
I can't
was
remember
it was
what happened.
basically closer towards the byline, and he just whipped it in, and he whipped it more towards like the outside the box in the little D bit. He whipped it more towards there as Havertz was running in, and Havertz went to take a touch instead of hitting it first time, and then lost the ball. They touched it down, but then they got yeah. But other than that, I can't remember him doing anything good. So I'll probably say a 5, just because I think we're misskewing what an average performance is based off of how shit he was last game. Because it's not as bad as that, we're probably thinking he actually had an all right game, but he really didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was even thinking like a 4, 4.5, if I'm honest. But I mean, Pice went 6, you went 5. For that sake, I'm just gonna go for the 4, and then we sit at an overall 5, and we don't have to mess about with is it a point something whatever rating? I mean, just give him a 5. Someone was very unhappy with me saying Cucurella was bad. I mean, now I've see people saying 3 and 4, 3 or 2. Fair enough. And someone else was like, well, where was it? Let me find it. What? Yeah, I'm out. Cucurella was good today. Like, see you, mate. You're called London Cowboys. No one's going to miss you. So, it's okay. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, right wing back then. Now, as much as I love him, a bit of a slightly underwhelming performance, in my opinion, today. Now, we got a bit better as the second half went on and we became more and more attacking. Now, for a split second, very early in the game, I thought he gave away a penalty and I was fuming. But then we saw the replay and it was clearly never a penalty. So at least the referee had eyeballs.
Should got booked for diving, by the way.
Yeah,
Silly
maybe we should even go that far, but at least it wasn't a pen. And I was scared that he gave away a pen initially. But yeah, I mean, he had one or two very good crosses. I still think he needs to try and take the man on a couple of more occasions. The runs are nice. I prefer him in midfield, but hey, what do we have to do? Like, this is what we have to do with Reece being injured. So, I don't know. Just give him an average 6 today, maybe even a 5.5. I don't know what other people think. Aaron, let me go with you first.
I was expecting more, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I think it's probably because of the expectations I have based off of who we normally have a right wing back, but it just felt like he wasn't really trying to be progressive and push on, get down the line, put in a cross. It was always like he'd go more towards there and then stop, turn back, and play the ball backwards. And I just thought he's so good at progressing the ball and bringing it forward. I would have liked him to have at least tried it a little bit more. I know it's a bit more difficult when you're playing wing back compared to playing as like a number 8 or something, but I just thought he would have given it a little bit more. So I was a bit disappointed. And initially, when as you said, I thought it was a penalty as well. I sat there and my dad was like, "Oh no, that's never a pen." But I thought, you know what, with VAR these days, you never know. They could give like this most stupid of nothing as a foul. And if that was the case, then it could have been really bad because you know what Toney's penalty record's like. But I think I'd probably go for a 5.5. I think it was a little bit below average, but yeah, it wasn't great, if I'm being honest. I don't think either wing back was particularly good.
Although when I see that we gave Cucurella a 5, I think 5.5 for Ruben is almost harsh. If we're comparing
I'm
it
willing to take that Cucurella down 1 drastically to a 4 then, if it means we give Ruben a 5.5.
All right. Let's give Cucurella a 5.5 then. A 4.5, sorry. Let's call him Cuckoo because this is a bit long here. Price. Aaron said 5.5 for Ruben. What did you make of Ruben's performance today, bro?
I don't know. I'll probably have to go 6 again, to be honest. Average. Don't think he was below average. Don't think he was above average. There was a couple of times where I think he made a couple of nice sort of dribbles, and I felt like sort of for the majority of the game, to be honest, I felt like again he was another one where he kind of had like mud in his boots. I don't know. He just wasn't very sharp. Didn't go on like loads of powerful runs like he usually does. But again, I feel like that might just be the position, to be honest. You do have to play it more safe, because if you lose the ball, you have to track back, and
behind you. Yeah, you're
yeah. So I do feel like he was playing it a little bit more safe tonight, but a 6, to be honest with you, Lawrence. That's the average rating. Yeah.
You know what? I'll actually, as much as I love Ruben, I'll actually go with Aaron and go 5.5, and we'll go with that on screen. And that is on the basis of with how good he's been recently, with how good I know he can be. He can do better than he did today. So I don't even think today was from him average. I think that was slightly below average, just because I know how good he can be. So I want more. Ruben, try harder next time, please. Still the midfielders. Obviously, Gallagher gets an NA. I mean, the guy played 50 minutes and it felt like he barely touched the ball. So let's give him an NA. Let's do Jorginho first. Don't really know. Like, I actually quite like how Jorginho has been playing most of the time he got games under Graham Potter so far. He's a bit more advanced. He, like, sometimes in the press, he's almost involved with the front three. He runs up the pitch. I don't know if that's purely because he knows when and where to press. So Graham Potter just says, yeah, you press, and then everyone else understands that they need to do it too, type thing. I don't know if that's the idea, but he's certainly more involved in that sense. He even tried a couple of shots from outside the box. Now, they both got blocked, and he didn't get either of them off the ground, but, he attempted it. But I don't really know what to make of it, because if I look at him individually in the game, I can only remember really pretty decent things, not really any awful things. But then I also think about how, well, there was large parts of this game, the first 20 minutes, the first 10, 15 of the second half, where Brentford were completely dominating us, basically. And I'm like, well, Jorginho, you're supposed to help us not get dominated, right? Like, you're supposed to help us dictate the game. And he didn't really achieve that in certain parts of the game against a team that is lesser than ourselves. So that's why I'm thinking maybe I should go a little bit lower, because my instinct tells me, yeah, from what my memory says, I give him a 7. But I don't think like we had enough control and stuff over the game to give him anywhere near a 7. So now I'm thinking more between like a 5.5 and a 6. So, Pice, do you think I'm off my head, or would you go in similar areas?
For Jorginho, a 6.
Yeah, 5.5. 6, maybe. I mean, some other people said 7, but do people?
I do think he was quite good, to be fair.
Just didn't have. Yeah, me too, though. But didn't you also think like there would? Brentford dominated us too much, and who has to stop that in midfield? Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm struggling.
Yeah, I was going to go 6.5. Okay. I almost want to give him a 7 though, because I do feel like those two in midfield were quite good. I think Jorginho hardly lost the ball today. I do remember one time
like he never lost the ball, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I think Kovacic and Jorginho were very key in midfield to our ball progression, especially in that sort of period where we was dominating. I don't know. I'm stuck. I'll go 6.5. I'll go 6.5.
You know what? I think
7.
Judging by the stats, bro. Let me read them out, and maybe that helps you feel more comfortable with the 7. But I think the 7 might be justified. 1-2 fouls, 1 out of 1 aerial duels, which for Jorginho is pretty impressive. 5 out of 7 ground duels as well, which is pretty good. Had an interception, 5 recoveries, 1 clearance, 1 out of 3 tackles. That's not that amazing, but still. Dispossessed, never. 2 out of 5 accurate long balls. He tried some difficult ones, so you can't be too harsh on that. And even his pass accuracy was 91%. So maybe the 7 is okay. I just still feel like we should have controlled the game better. But maybe I'm harsh to say Jorginho himself should have fixed that problem. I don't know. So maybe a 7 is fair. Aaron, would you have gone as high as a 7, or what would you have given Georgie today?
Yeah, I'd probably go along with the 7 as well. I do think that the lack of control that we had in the game at times stems from the midfield, but I don't necessarily think that it's Jorginho specifically who is at blame for that. But as you guys said, like, I don't really think I saw him lose the ball much. I thought he had a nosebleed when he went for 2 shots outside the box. I thought, what the hell's going on here? This isn't Jorginho. He doesn't normally do this, and it would have been so funny to see one of them fly top bins. But I thought he had a good game. I think that shows like a different side to Jorginho this game, because no other time do you see Jorginho go for a shot outside the box, and he tried it twice today. And I just thought, bloody hell, he's really just we really run out of ideas, haven't we? If he's trying to shoot,
you know what the
outside
game
the box,
today felt like to me. Remember that QPR game that Fabregas won us very late on in their Jose title season?
Yeah.
That's what this game reminded me of today. Just we didn't get the winner, which is why we're nowhere near winning the title, and back then we were. But this game reminded me so much of that, honestly. Aaron, I'll stick with you quickly just to highlight this comment by Wing. He super chat so much, I think might as well. I don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, but I want to get your perspective on what he's saying. He says, you'll never win a Premier League with Jorginho as part of your core. He doesn't know when to speed things up. Ball retention isn't everything. What are you doing with it? Reevaluate him from this perspective. What do you make of that statement, Aaron?
In a nutshell, I think it's bollocks. But if you really want me to, if you really want me to go into it, I think you could easily win a Premier League with Jorginho at the base, because the way he controls the game and dictates the play is very important. It's been very important to how we play a lot of the time. So I don't necessarily think that statement has any bearing at all. So I mean, there's a bit of a waste of money. But anyways,
no, he didn't super chat on this one, to be fair.
Well, he's lucky, fucking hell.
Yeah, I mean, it almost like if you find a way to travel to an alternate universe, Wing, you will see what would have happened had he gone to City, and you will see that he would have won 4 Premier League titles by now. So, because he wouldn't have made City worse to the extent that they wouldn't have won Premier League titles. Unfortunately, Wing, I disagree with your sentiment of the whole idea that he doesn't know when to speed things up. I think Jorginho knows very well when to speed things up. I think he knows better than any of us when to speed things up. And we like, oh, why didn't he speed things up? But he knew it wasn't going to work, but we don't. So we like, oh, should have done it. But he knows he shouldn't have. Obviously, not at all times, mind you. Not at all times.
He's just completely missed the whole point. He's focusing on Jorginho's ball-playing abilities. Like, that's not the issue. The issue with him is his speed and his defensive ability, winning duels, winning tackles. Those are the things you could argue, of course. But in terms of, like, speeding things up and all that, like, nah. Like, if he said, I don't think Jorginho is good enough defensively to win you a Premier League title, I don't think he's good enough in duels, I don't think he's fast enough, I don't think he's the type of athletic DM that, traditionally wins Premier League titles, I might agree with him, but I think he's focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think it's difficult to say to City, could he win a Premier League? If he was playing for City, Jorginho, if he would start, they would still win a Premier League. Now, will we win the Premier League with Jorginho? Now, maybe not. But is that his fault? I don't think so. All right. I will agree with the 7 on Jorginho. Let's go to Mateo Kovacic. Yeah. I don't want to give him an 8, but I do think he was better than Jorginho. So I guess I have to go 7.5, even though I think he was maybe more than 0.5 better than Jorginho, just because some of these passes that he played today were very good. Now, and I said this, I can't remember if on air or off air, but Kovacic tried a lot of through balls today, a couple to cover, and some of them he overhit like really badly. He overhit them so much. I'm like, I've never seen you overhit passes this much, cover. But the longer the game went on, the better the passes got. And almost I felt like the other players weren't ready for him passing like this, which I also understand because Cover doesn't have that many games where he passes like this. But it was great to see, and I hope he can do it more regularly. Pice, would you kill me if I said 7.5? Would you go higher than that?
No, I think he's around there, to be fair. I think, again, he was one of the players that I mentioned that I think actually wanted to win the game today. He was passing the ball very fast. Again, some of them didn't come off, but you could clearly see the intent was there, and I liked that. And again, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen at the weekend because, I don't think he was supposed to play at all tonight, to be quite honest with you. Or maybe 30, 20 minutes off the bench. But I hope he's all right for the weekend. But yeah, I think he played pretty well. 7.5. Yeah, I think that's justified.
Absolutely, fair play. Aaron, 7.5. Then would you go along with that for Kovacic as well, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably go along with that as well. I think he did have quite a good game. You could see he was trying to be more progressive. When we were getting towards that final third, he was always trying to play that ball in towards the final third
He also took a few
try and
shots.
find.
Actually. A lot of the players tried shooting today. Honestly,
I mean, some of the shots from a lot of players were
yeah,
very questionable.
But he tried.
Yeah, but even with Kovacic, like you could see he was actually trying to push the ball into the final third. I think there was that one ball that I remember over to Mount. If he just had slightly less on that pass, Mount timed his run to perfection and he would have been in. But other than that, I think he did. I think he had a great game. I think there was one time and I was annoyed at him, and it was when Brentford took a corner, I remember, and he went to press one of the players who the ball came to, and then that player kept running. I think it was Yano. He just kept running past him, and Kovacic just stood still. And I just thought, if that's your man, then he's played a pass off. You should be sticking with him. But other than that, I think he had a good game. So I'd go with 7.5.
Fair dues. T-Spot, I'm not really sure what you're saying with how to get in the doghouse. I'm not really sure who put you in the doghouse and what made you think you're in a doghouse. But, I hope you enjoy the doghouse, mate. I won't quite do because it's going to take me too long. Your comment there for us to agree or disagree. But I did value your opinion. Mason Mount then. Obviously was subbed off in that first triple sub. Obviously, for rest, I understand, but I still can never comprehend how Kai was allowed to stay on and Broja was taken off, or how Kai was allowed to stay on and Mount was taken off. But was Mount very good today? No, he wasn't. But I'm not sure how bad. Aaron, why don't I go with you first? I've seen a lot of people in the chat give different kinds of ratings for Mason Mount already. Some 4.5, something lower, something slightly higher. Whereabouts would you go for Mason?
I think it's difficult because he didn't really seem too involved in the game. I think there was times where he was trying to bring the ball forward a little bit, but I mean, it wasn't, considering the form he's coming off of the last few games, it was a bit underwhelming to say the least. So I probably would go a little bit below average, and I think that's more to do with kind of the standard that Mason Mount set for himself. So I'd probably go with a 5.5, but I'm just hoping he's got it out of his system, and on Saturday he can turn up and find that form that he's had the last few games.
Fair enough. 5.5 then to start with. Pice, would you give him a 5.5? Would you go lower? Would you go potentially higher?
I don't think the position was the best for him, to be honest with you. I would have liked him more central. Again, as I said, I thought he was out wide too much on the left, but yeah, I don't know. Was he worse than Ruben and Cucurella? I gave a 6. Not really sure, to be honest. No, I would probably go 6 as well, to be fair. I think they were all pretty average. Don't think they were poor, just average.
Okay. Yeah, I probably would have given him a 5 in all honesty. Just I do understand what Price said in terms of being not in his ideal position. At the same time, we played in the front three of a 3-4-3 so much under Thomas Tuchel. Damn, is that at this point an excuse anymore? I don't know. I just think that there can be more. I also don't want to be too harsh because he's now played. How many games do we have on a Graham Potter? It was the 7th game, and he started all of them. I wish he got a rest, but at the end of the day, well, he didn't. Let's get to Kai Havertz then. Pice, are you giving him a 0 or are you giving
0 minus 1,000? No, he was absolutely shocking. I feel like, I'm going to go this far. I can't remember that Bakayoko Watford performance, right? Sal Aston Villa. Name me others. This one was up there. It was absolutely diabolical. I genuinely felt like he was trying to lose us the game. What the fuck? I said it earlier. I can't even get my words out. He was that shit. Literally, he had sandbags on his boots. He was running at 0 mile an hour. He was doing nothing. Literally nothing. His first shot was in the 75th minute, and it was straight at the goalie. It was shocking. He was absolutely shocking. Chelsea fans, honestly, They love to have a go at Mount and stuff when he plays bad, and Jorginho, whoever. This guy, honestly, serious conversations need to happen. We paid a lot of money for this guy. Again, we paid the same amount for Kepa. Kepa doesn't get this leeway. I know he scored us the Champions League final goal. Forever grateful. Premier League, I can't name you 5 performances where he's been worth the money. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I cannot believe he was not hooked off at half time. And that's going to be reflective on my Graham Potter waiting as well.
He was allowed to stay on. I was like,
unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. I can't. That's going to be reflective on my Graham Potter rating as well. How do you like? I was literally sitting there. If you're the manager, you're even closer than me. How are you watching that and not dragging him off? That was literally. It was. 0. Honestly, I was fuming with him. I can't believe he played that bad. Like, his touches inside the box, he just felt like he was like lagging almost. It was almost like when you play FIFA and you control your player and you get speed up lag, but it's the opposite. You go really slow. It's like, what the fuck was he doing? Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah, and people know I've often been a little bit defensive of Kai Havertz. I mean, I don't think the shot example was the best because did Mount even have a shot? So I don't think you can use it. I think that shot was okay. But that shot was literally the only reasonably acceptable thing Havertz did all game long. And when he made that turn just outside our own box, ran straight into the Brentford player, and Aspie had to bail him out. That's where Aspie did really well to get his body in between the attacker and the defender. Bro, you can't be at the edge of the box and not scan your surroundings to see that guy's right. You can't just turn, lay the ball a yard in front of you to start running, and then there's a player and you don't know about that. Like, you're like, how is no. And that Pi's touching it. That one touch he had in the box. I'm like, bro, you're in the box. There's 6 opponents around you, and a random touch takes the ball nearly 2 yards away from you. You can't play football like that. Like, no. And then again, like he would, that he was allowed to stay on the pitch. It's just mind-boggling, quite frankly. Like, mind-boggling. It's wow. That was like I say, I've often defended Havertz, and I've often found that people are a little bit harsh and are ignoring certain things that he does. But on today's occasion, even I'm like, nah, that was ridiculous.
It's not just today though. He's like this most of the times he plays, bro. Like, honestly, the Premier League, he's been so like just so not even on and off, because I just feel like he'll have like 3 bad games and 1 all right / good game. Like, that's not acceptable.
To be fair,
like,
before today, he had 2 goals in his last 3 starts while not playing well in those games. Still, the stat is 2 goals in 3 games. Do you know what I mean? Like, Sterling can only dream of stats like that. Do you know what I mean? But today was. I don't want to get caught up too much in talking about the past and stuff, but today was really, really poor. Before I go to Aaron, ladies and gentlemen, please do subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. I do forget to mention this recently. So please do subscribe if you haven't already. Any of you that's here that hasn't subscribed yet, please hit that big red subscribe button down below. Really helps me out. Smash the like button while you're there as well. And also hit the notification bell button. It says that's right next to it. And then once you click on it, it should pop up with like a little selection of all personalized and none. Make sure you click all, because the personalized thing doesn't work. YouTube's weird. So please click all to make sure that you're notified whenever I do go live. Aaron, though, I mean, I assume you're going to agree. But how bad was Kai today, man?
I would love it if you could go on Google and try and copy and paste a shit emoji just to stick next to his name, because by God, he was fucking horrendous. Oh my God. You know, there's serious, uncomfortable conversations to be had about this fraud. Like, it's becoming a joke now. I don't know how much longer we can sit here and put up with this shit. If he still starts over Pulisic after this stinker, oh God, Lord have mercy. Because if that happens, then I don't know what to say anymore. But he was dog shit. So if we can give minus scores, I would. But if not, then it's just a 0.
Fair enough. All right, then. Let's get to Armando Broja. I'm going to start with my rating. I would like to give him a 7, but for that messed up, not like it's literally a tap in for Mount if he just squares it, and he just didn't square it. So for that, I have to take 0.5 off. But I think otherwise, he was really promising. Now, not everything he did was great. There was a couple of bad touches. There was this one occasion, the first half, where he received an over-the-top ball and he kind of misjudged it, and then he just hit him in the back. Well, I'm like, come on now. But no, I have to highlight this pace again. This is some of the most ridiculous pace I've ever seen Chelsea play out. That's, again, I mean, I want to see it against someone other than Ben Mee, because Ben Mee is just really, really slow. But Ben Mee looked like Perma Mertesacker today, but still. Wow, Broja is quick. Flipping out. I still think Ben Mee could well have been sent off for that tackle, but still, the fact that Broja gets up, goes again, doesn't square it, but then still gets his cross away. And then that other moment where he kept tackling the player, won it back, and then just steams forward like this absolute mad dog of a person. It's crazy. I love him. I'm a huge fan. I think he should be starting more games, quite frankly. Like, that energy, it's crazy. Like, Oba was good when he came on, to be fair, but Aubameyang can't provide that kind of energy, and it's against that type of opposition. I think it's so crucial. I really hope he gets to start more games in the very near future. One thing I will say is, well, either he doesn't trust his left foot, or his left foot is really bad. But because there was a couple of occasions where he really should have just crossed on his left foot, but he didn't. He chose to turn around, and it seemed like it was because he didn't want to use his left foot. So if it's lack of confidence, then, well, believe in yourself. And if it's lack of confidence justified so because his left foot is bad, then please work on your left foot, because we can't have you being one-footed. But otherwise, I'm so happy. I'm very happy for him that he got his first Chelsea start. It's just, really frustrating he didn't just square that, man. Like, come on. would have been such a good... What an assist that would have been, man, honestly. Pice, would you go along with a 6.5? Do you think I'm being nice? Do you think I'm being harsh? What do you reckon?
No, I probably would, to be honest. I think he's above average. He played well, but yeah, moments he definitely messed up that one. Especially to Mount, he's right open for a tap in. That's just, I honestly want to forget this game after today, because it's one of those games where if you watch the highlights back, it will just make yourself even more angry. The fact that we didn't win in those, or make the most of those certain situations, stuff didn't come off. So yeah, I think 6.5 is perfect. You want to go higher if he did, scored a goal or assisted or made the right decisions, but he didn't. But I mean, he's young, man. I expect this. Chukwuemeka as well, who we're going to come to, thought he was really good off the bench. But again, a couple of moments where I thought, maybe he didn't make the right decision, but they're young. And I guess we've got to be a part of that process as much as they are. The club have backed him, 6-year contract. So, I think he'll make better decisions in the future, hopefully.
I do agree. And to make Aaron happy, I did in the meantime quickly copy poo emoji, and we will place it next to Kai Havertz. So
you absolute legend.
See, I appreciate that you appreciate it. Sorry, Kai, but you got to be better than that. You're not King Kai now. You're shit Kai. But maybe next week you can be King Kai again. We can hope. All right. Then we get to this absolutely unacceptable triple substitution in which Kai Havertz was allowed to stay on the pitch. So the subs we made was, well, essentially, Raheem Sterling came on for Cucurella, playing left wing back after that. And to be fair, compared to the weekend at right wing back, he had an absolute thing. He did good. Like, even in defensive situations, he tracked back, did his thing. Fair play. I liked it. And I wasn't particularly involved in the attack, other than that one occasion he really fucked it up.
Laurenz,
but,
did you not want to let me rep my boy Broja?
Oh. Yes. let me write the rest of the subs down. My bad. I do apologize. I was so focused on giving Kai that poo emoji that I completely forgot about letting you rate him. I do apologize.
It's fine. It's justified for the poo emoji.
Okay. All right. What would you rate Broja with 2 6.5s given so far?
Yeah, I would have gone a little bit higher than you both. I would have gone for a 7 purely because I just felt like he was a breath of fresh air. I think kind of what he... Don't get me wrong, there was plenty of times where I just thought you knob, like you could have made yourself stand out and look so much better if you just done this or done that. But aside from that, I still think he had a good game. Considering he hasn't had many minutes, this is his first start, I still think he done quite well. To see sort of that intensity and that press where he's sprinting after the ball and just being that big and strong, but being able to go at people with pace and not giving up on the ball. He could have obviously passed the ball to Mason Mount, which still annoys me to this minute. It does annoy me because we could have been in and we probably would have scored from that. But beside the point, I still think he had a very good game for somebody who hasn't had many minutes and is coming on to his first start of the season. So I think he done well. I'd give him a 7.
Fair dues. We'll still leave him at 6.5 then, as it usually goes. But now I almost want to agree with you, but Now, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to agree with you. I would have just given him a 7.5 without messing up the square. You know what? Suck it. That's what it is. All right, then. Let's get to these subs. And I want to, because shout out to him, Kalidou Koulibaly, second appearance for Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken. And this was certainly the longest in minutes. So you got, when did he get subbed on? 62nd minute. So played over half an hour with injury time. Yeah, I mean, I still think in some occasions defensively, when to press, when to, cover passing lanes, that needs to be worked on still. But on the ball, I like him. I like the energy. I like the strength. I like the pace. I like the focus. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. In terms of a sub performance, 6.5, 7, 6.5. It's probably where I'd go. Pies, what about you?
Yeah, I want to know what you guys think about that sort of position where you hit it and Raya saved out for a corner, because, like, on the replay, he just had his head down and all he wanted to do was smash it. So, and I saw quite a few people like criticizing, the elite youngsters, look up there and find your man. But I was like, really, like, I don't know. His first like proper cameo for Chelsea. I thought he did really well. I think he's going to be a top player, and I don't know. I feel like I'm the only one that hasn't noticed this, but did you guys feel like he just reminded you of Ruben as well? Like the way he used his body and like ran. Like I felt like he reminded me of Ruben so much. Really sort of powerful, really good runner. I thought he was good on the ball. The way he used his body to win fouls as well.
And Callum. I don't know why, but it seems like
the way he's quick, like, and he's strong, and I felt like he used his body really well. And yeah, I think I think that's going to be a great buy for us. I hope he gets more minutes because I thought he was pretty decent. To be fair, I was definitely would like to see him more off the bench for sure. Definitely the Premier League level. Like I think you can tell that as well. He came off, I think, 15 times off the bench for Aston Villa. So yeah, he looks good, man. He looks good, but a lot of progressing there to do. So I'll give him a 6.5. But yeah, I think promising signs from him.
Fair dues. I mean, what you're talking about with the where he shot obviously at the very end, a part of me agrees with it. What you said that he should have squared it. Well, that he probably should have squared it. The thing is, I think it looks simpler than it is. I think if he does square it, the ball doesn't actually end up going to Aubameyang. Was it Aubameyang or was it Sterling? Whoever he could have crossed it to. I think it probably gets intercepted if he tries that. And I think his whole idea was that everyone's expecting that. And that's why he shot to try and catch maybe the keeper out a little bit. I think that was his whole idea and plan. And the goalie saved him with his leg. And for a second, I thought he was going to deflect it into his own goal, but he deflected obviously just wide of the post. So I don't think we should be too harsh on him for that. But I do also understand why people say, just cross it. But fair enough. Aaron, 2 6.5s then. Would you agree on the 6.5? And also, what's your thoughts on him going for the shot in that last moment?
Nope, I would go even higher than 6.5. I would go for a 7 because I think you have to take into account that the guy barely played any minutes with Chelsea, and to come on and give that kind of cameo where he did look powerful in his running. He did remind me of Ruben as well. I don't really see the Callum in him as much, but I definitely see the Ruben based off of his like frame because I did not think he was that big. He looks fucking huge on the pitch, but I still think he had a great cameo. I do think at the end he could have squared it, but as you said, I don't think he would have gone through. But I don't know if anyone else noticed there was like where he was in that position. If he had checked back a little bit and maybe played the ball backwards, sort of like to his side, Sterling was sort of running in unmarked. So I feel like he might have been able to play that pass, but again, it's sort of a lot more far-fetched and God knows if he'd even noticed that. But I still think he done really well. And just that whole elite youngsters thing, I think you can't really use that sort of comparison because the so-called elite youngsters have played a hell of a lot more minutes, are integrated more with their team. They sort of know how their team plays and they've had a lot more time to sort of gel with them, whereas he's just coming off the bench. And what is his second time coming off the bench, I think? So yeah, he's barely had any time to actually play with these guys. So to come in and do what he did, I think he done really well.
Fair dues.
And it also does make me very curious because if we're seeing him come off the bench and play like that, having hardly played any minutes under us, it does make me really curious as to what Dennis Zakaria has in him. Because if we're taking it into perspective of Chukwuemeka's come off the bench, barely playing any minutes, and he can actually put in a cameo where he looks pretty good, then who's to say that Zakaria maybe can't do the same?
Well, I guess, Graham Potter's judgment, because otherwise he would have come on by now. Do you know what I mean? But who knows? Who knows? I do see what you're saying. I do. I've already given up on Zakaria. I'm pretty confident he will not even. I'm not even sure if he'll play a single minute. Maybe he'll play in the game against City in the Carabao Cup. Otherwise, I'm not even sure if he'll get a sub appearance before getting sent back to Juve in January. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's get to Christian Pulisic then. What a Academy performance. Now, not quite enough to get us the win, unfortunately, but not for a lack of trying. Very good. I still think could have won us a pen with a ref that slightly going in your favour. It was never going to be overturned by VAR because it wasn't clear enough. But I think if the ref gives that, I don't think VAR overturned it the other direction either. The one shot that he had, that the goalie had to somehow parry out because it had so much dip on it. He had one other shot which got headed out because, I think that was flying for goal. I mean, probably would have been saved, but still, the fact that he tried, I liked it. I liked how he took on players. I like how he dropped deep and took the ball forward. You always, a lot of our other players on the pitch today, when they had too many players in front of them, they turned around, passed it back. Pulisic, there was a couple of occasions where I'm like, all the others would pass back now. He didn't. He either made sure he passed it at least slightly forward to like a Kovacic or a wing back, or he tried to take the man on. And I was very happy with it. As a sub appearance goes, I'll give him an 8. As a sub appearance without a goal goes, I'll give him an 8. I was very happy with it. Maybe 8 is overdoing it a little bit. Maybe 7.5. Pies, what do you think? Is 8 overdoing it, or would you go along with it?
No, 100% deserves it. 100%. I thought he was brilliant, man. The injection of energy we needed, the positivity to actually run at players. I mean, I feel sorry for this guy if he doesn't start on the weekend, or at least isn't the if he doesn't start.
Though, to United, there's no way he gets to start.
We know it. You can't. I know, but you can't do much more as a player. Like, he was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant off the bench. And if he doesn't start, he has to absolutely be the first attacking sub off the bench. No questions. He has to be. He was really, really good.
First name on the team sheet for Salzburg as well on Tuesday.
Yeah, 100%. He deserves it. Just everything I said. Just the way he was running at people, taking shots. Like, he did everything everyone else didn't do today. That's the best way I could put it.
Absolutely. Fair play. Give it an 8. Give it an 8. Aaron, would you go along with 8? Do you think a bit higher, a bit lower? I've seen a few 8.5s in the chat as well. A couple of 7s. 7.5, sorry. I've seen Wing even want to give him a 9 as well.
I would even go along with that and give him an 8.5 because I think when he came on, he just gave the game such a different dimension, and it was like an injection of something that we really needed because I didn't really see that kind of intensity from anybody. The way he came in and he was running at people, he was trying to take people on, he was taking shots, he was looking dangerous, he was trying to find players out wide, try and bring them into the game a bit. I think he was really good, and it is a shame to see that he still doesn't get the start, which obviously you can deduce what you will from it, but makes me believe that there's something else behind the scenes, as you've alluded to before. Maybe he doesn't train properly or something, but when he's coming on a play like that, it's very difficult to not want to have him starting games because we haven't had that kind of intensity come off the bench. Well, I can't remember the last time somebody came in and actually gave a cameo like that off the bench and actually looked like they were really, really on it. So I was really, really happy with his performance.
Fair play. All right. Raheem Sterling, obviously Aubameyang will just get an NA probably. Raheem Sterling. Other than the Broja where he didn't square it to Mount, Sterling had, I would say, by far our biggest chance. Basically was one with the goalkeeper. But he waited so long that by the time he did shoot, the defender got a good tackle in. And this is about the 5th or 6th time the exact same thing happened this season, where he has a really good chance, waits way too long to shoot, shoots, gets blocked. I'm like, bro, did you forget your brain in Manchester? Or like, how can the same thing happen over and over again and you still don't fix it? Like, you're an elite player. Like everyone knows, Sterling is a really good footballer. He has a finish in him. I know, not always perfect, but he has a finish in him. He's quick, he's got experience, he's reasonably strong for his height. But what is that, man? You can't do the same thing wrong over and over and over and over and over again. Just wait too long and shoot. Just shoot, man. Pissing me off. Like, honestly. Maybe I'm extra harsh on him, but when we signed Raheem Sterling, he was like, okay, he was the attacking signing that we made. He was the first signing on Todd Boehly. He was supposed to come here and change certain things, not come here and give me more problems. It's like, nah, I'm not happy with that. I'm not having it. I'm absolutely not having it. I'm giving him a 5. And that's just because he did some decent defensive things. But offensively, he didn't do a single good thing because that was his only offensive involvement that I can remember, at least. He had one dribble. Well, in the end, he got kind of stuck on the second player and then squared it to, or passed it back to Kovacic. Fucking brilliant. Yeah, maybe I'm even being, you know what, I'll give you another 4. It pissed me off. Like, stop slowing it down, man. For the 5th or 6th time in the space of a month. How can you do the same thing wrong every time? I don't understand this. Sorry if I'm losing it. I know, and I even feel in my heart that I'm a little bit too harsh on Sterling. I can't help it. I watch the game and it just triggers me when he does things like that. I'm like, no, not you. Like if Havertz does this, if Mount does this, if flipping Ruben, they take too long. Yeah, I got used to that for the last 2 years, 3 years, whatever. With Sterling, man, all I was doing in the last 3 years was seeing him at City, shoot, go, shoot, go, shoot, go. And now he doesn't shoot. Why? Stop. Why? I don't get this. I do not understand why this is the case, honestly. Aaron, I go with you first. Do you think I'm being very harsh? Do you at least see where my frustration comes from, even if you do think I'm harsh?
No, I completely see where it comes from. I think the fact that he was so touch tight to the byline, like, it didn't help because he just felt like he was so out wide all the time. It was like, it was so difficult for him to then come inside because he just had so much distance to cover in from where his position was to come inside and then get back into his position. And there was times where it was just like, why do you have to slow it down that much where we're getting towards the dying embers of the game and we're trying to push on and create an attack and get a goal? And it's like he slows it down and then he'll bring it back or we'll go across the box towards Ruben. And it's just like, it's frustrating because I hold Sterling in such a high regard based on what he's done his whole Premier League career. And it's like, as soon as he comes here, it's like he's just a completely different player. Like he's not taking people on as much. He looks a lot slower. He's not taking shots, and it's just like you have such ability where if you used even half of that during the games, we'd be in such a better position. But he just hasn't. So it is really frustrating. But I'm going to go along with your rating as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Guys, I assume you're going to think we're a bit harsh, but explain why you think that if you do and what rating you would give him.
I don't know exactly about the rating, but along the lines of what you're saying, I can't really disagree, to be honest. I do feel though that position, like there's a left wing back, and then you might as well just be off the pitch, like he was that wide. And I get the idea was obviously to get the ball out to him and him to run at players and stuff, which to be fair, he didn't really do. And inside the box, I feel like he should have done better. And I do get the point of you saying like he like stutters and freezes and stuff like that, and at times slows the game down as well. I do think he should have done better from that really good Aubameyang flick. It's a decent tackle, but he took way too long to get out of his feet. So I probably would go below average. I probably would go with like a 5. Yeah, to be honest with you, though, bro, like I just think if I'm gonna be 100% honest here, and I know we'll probably do a preview stream, but just from today, like my front three for the Man U game would be Pulisic, Aubameyang, and Mason Mount. It wouldn't include Sterling, I don't think.
No, I agree. I completely agree. Completely agree with that. And that's not a good sign for him. Like he was wanted to come here because at City he wasn't playing every game anymore. Why? How can my computer just connected to my AirPods when my AirPods are in their case closed? How the fuck can you connect them? Anyway, like he wanted to come here to be the main man because he didn't feel like he was that at City anymore. Now we're at 20th of October. A month of that was basically off because the Queen died and then we had the international break. And we're on the verge where I don't think he should be starting games anymore. Like, obviously, not indefinitely, but like for the next game. And then someone else very much so deserves a chance because he didn't play well when he started. Now, today, he didn't play well when he came. Pisses me off. Like, you need to be better than this. And we can't start this situation almost like what we have a little bit with Kai, where I'm like, no matter how he plays, he just keeps playing. I'm like, no, we need to stop that narrative that you can't just play badly and still play. No, if you play badly, you're not playing. If you play well, you're playing. Of course, certain times of certain seasons and stuff, everyone's playing a bit badly, and then, well, you have to pick off a bad bunch, I guess. But that's not necessarily the situation right now, because Pulisic is doing well. His last start, he scored. Today when he came on, he was brilliant. So there is not a situation of pick between two bad ones. There is a situation between pick a bad one or pick a good one. So pick a good one, for the love of God, Graham. But anyway, Aubameyang gets that and then we quickly finish it off with the rating for Graham Potter. And I think Potter made a very fair point earlier. The fact that Havertz was allowed to stay on the pitch for as long as he did should and will most certainly be taken into account. Do you think the game plan worked today, or like in general, like how would you come to your rating for Potter, not just for the Havertz thing, obviously?
I can't help but feel like we should have played a four at the back today, to be honest with you. I feel like we should have been more attacking. If not, move the ball faster. You know, if you're going to play a three at the back, thought it was way too slow. Didn't really notice him being too proactive on the timeline, but again, I mean, he made changes.
Touchline, you mean?
Huh?
You said timeline instead of touchline.
Oh, touchline. Yeah, I'm too addicted to Twitter. Sorry, touchline. Yeah, but yeah, he made changes. I do feel like he should have made some at half time. I feel like he should have brought Pulisic on at half time. Don't know how Havertz stayed on so long, because I thought he was shocking. Again, I was thinking, you know, like put Ruben in midfield and then maybe Aspi right wing back. But then I thought, you know, what would you do with the defense then?
Yeah.
So certain things, okay, fair enough. But again, I think subs were way too late. I don't think the performance was great. So I'm gonna go with like a 5 today for Potter. I think. I feel like we set up too negative, in my opinion.
Yeah, I will agree with your 5 before I take it to Aaron. I'm not sure if it was necessarily a negative setup. I don't think it was the plan to be negative. Now, obviously, you could say in terms of formation, but we also played a back 3 against Milan, and we were clearly the opposite of negative, right? So I don't think that necessarily fully defines whether we are negative or proactive or whatever you want to call it. I'm kind of pissed off with how these all these names are. But anyway, I think we just really, like, Brentford obviously pressed very centrally, and then when we gave the ball to Cucurella, he didn't do anything with it. But also when neither wingback got the ball, they were just stormed at by 2 Brentford players. Now, I would love to see the distances covered by Brentford players today, because I think it must be outrageous, because they were like everywhere all the time, and we just couldn't quite find the passes through it. And that's why we attempted so many over the top balls. And then, number one, they defended it well to some extent. And then obviously, we had a couple of occasions, but it never allowed us to fully dominate, because we didn't manage to push our center point of our game high enough, because they always stopped us to do that with their press. So I don't think this was necessarily. I don't think the set out plan was to be negative, but he didn't find a plan to beat their press, and that's kind of the problem. And then the Havertz one. Now, for me, it's not just the fact that Havertz stayed on, also the fact that if Havertz stays on, but Broja was bad and Mount was bad, okay, maybe Mount we take out of it because he maybe needed a rest. But say Broja was also bad, okay, then you pick one of the two. But not only was Havertz really shit and was allowed to stay on the pitch, Broja was also pretty good. Was in the moments before that, like getting closer and closer to scoring, I felt. Like there was also one cross in the first half that he nearly got on the end of. Well, I'm like, why? Like, the guy doesn't start anyway, usually, right? Only gets some appearance. So clearly, Broja didn't need to be rested. So how on earth you come to the decision to leave Havertz on and take Broja off? Out ridiculous, in my opinion. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I'll probably give him a 5 as well. Aaron, would you give him a 5 as well? Would you go lower? Would you go higher? What do you think?
I'm gonna go 0.5 lower, and it's because he done something it just annoys me so much. I don't even know why he done it, but when you are defending a corner, why are you making substitutions and taking Broja off when he's huge and bringing on players like Sterling? Like, that really irritated me. So I'm going to give him 0.5 lower, but that's just because that really annoyed me.
But we didn't concede from the corner, though.
It's not about conceding from it. It's the principle of when you're defending a corner, why are you taking off your big players and chucking on short guys? I don't know if this is a football thing. I'm pretty sure it is, but they say you never really make a sub before you defend. Yeah, so it's just like why would you do something like that? It's small things, it's little things. I know we didn't concede from it, but it's just the premise and principle really annoys me because I've never really you tend to barely ever see managers do it nowadays unless it's not they're taking off someone and bringing on like a huge guy or a defender to try and help them out with that.
No, absolutely. I do agree. You don't make subs in a situation. Now, because we didn't concede from in the end, I don't think it's that much worth mentioning. But at the time, I was like, nah, that's a bit weird. But I guess he wanted to make that triple sub, and the next stoppage of play just happened to be the corner, I guess. But yeah. Sorry, bro. Remind me, I didn't quite hear it. Did you say 5 for Pote, yeah?
4.5. But it's going to average out to 5 anyway.
Oh, yeah, it will. Just to quickly react to this, Min. A simple reason, because we already had made 4 subs. And if you take then Havertz off for Aubameyang in the 70th minute, then you have 20 minutes in which someone could get injured and you don't have a replacement sub, and then you're down to 10 men. So that's why Aubameyang didn't come on earlier. It's a pretty simple explanation, really. But obviously, it shouldn't have even been that situation. Havertz shouldn't have been on the pitch at that point already. Now, who was it? Fantasy PGA Tour said he didn't actually agree with Chukwuemeka coming on. In terms of, he basically said he played all right, but he wouldn't have been the pick for him at the time. I do agree. I was surprised that this is the situation. This is the game and scenario at 0-0 where we decided to bring Chukwuemeka on. But with the way he played, I'm like, well, can't really fault it, can you? I don't think anyone else that was on the bench would have done any better in that position at the time, because obviously, because we were forced into that Gallagher Kovacic change earlier in the game, we couldn't have exactly like. If that sub didn't happen early in the game, maybe we actually bring Kovacic on from out and push Gallagher higher or something, and then that's how we shift it around. I mean, so I think it was more to do with injuries. But hey, here we are. That rounds out as a 5, and in the end, unfortunately, 2 points dropped. Unfortunately, not quite closed City down all the way to only 1 point. Did United win 2-0, 3-0 in the end? I don't even know. 2-0. Well, that is unfortunate. But at the same time, Saeed, the United fan, tweeted how many games do they expect from the next 2 games, which was Spurs, and then obviously on the weekend us. I said, we'll hope 3-3. 3 against Spurs, 0 against us. So, we're still on for that one. And also, we'll say, did I honestly expect us to beat Brentford and United? No, if I'm honest. But now we didn't win this one. In my head, makes it more likely we win on Saturday. And who do I rather beat, Man United or Brentford? Well, most certainly Man United, because we haven't beaten those twats in way too long. So let's hope we can do that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we round this out, 2 things. Number 1, please do subscribe if you're new here. That would be massively appreciated. Hit that big red subscribe button down below. Smash the like button on your way out. It doesn't cost you any money or any time. And if you don't have a Google account, make one by the time we get to another stream next week. Like I say, hit the notification bell button so you do get notified whenever we do go live. And please do also check out Pice's website, chelseafc365.com. The link is down in the description for all your latest Chelsea news, if you sometimes would rather read things than hear things on this channel. So please do check that out. Obviously, follow him on Twitter as well if you don't already. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. And we'll see you next time.